Hey, good morning, Internet. This is Blind Justice on the streets of Aberdeen, Washington, sitting outside City Hall once again. We got day 43 of our peaceful protest. Resting is not a crime, and had some interesting encounters yesterday out at the 4th of July Splash Festival at Morrison Park in Aberdeen. And the Parks and Rec department are the people here working at the city that threw the event or sponsored the event. So shout out to them for hosting the event. I think it went well. A bunch of people came, kids, families, had fun, and they also shout out to the Parks and Rec department because I think it's Stacy is the person at the top of that. I left there's this, I think it's Citizen Action Report, I think it's what it's called. You can find it on their page, on the city's page, on the Parks and Rec link. You can fill out different reports on that, and the Public Works about anything, potholes, streets and stuff would be Public Works. And then anything like trees, fallen trees, or low-hanging limbs, stuff hanging off the sidewalk, stuff like that, that you want them to come, if it's city stuff, have them come trim it so it's not a hazard or an obstacle, safety concern. So I did that, pointed out some areas, and so Stacy called me back, I think it was last week, and wanted to address some of those issues and things, and I asked her when do you think they'd be able to get to some of the trees that are blocking sidewalks, or at least clotheslining me when I walk through town. And she's like, oh, maybe July or August sometime. And I was like, okay, anything like in the near future? And she's like, well, she compromised because she heard there's a concern and wanted to address it, and so she asked for a specific block, if there's one where a block was kind of worse than the others. And I pointed out the block by Franklin Field because there's trees on the south side of the field that's on the north side of the sidewalk, and that sidewalk's really jacked up anyway, so that's a Public Works thing. But that sidewalk's real rough to traverse without the trees being in the way, tree limbs. So I pointed that one out because it was pretty treacherous, and they did it. I think they did it since I talked to her, so that's cool. So good on the Public Works for actually addressing that. And for the event yesterday, it went well. But the couple guys that said they worked with the Public Works at the beginning of the event, we talked about the little free speech zone that they set up, and talked about location and things like that, and their concerns. The only concern, because I love talking to people and hearing their concerns. Their concerns were the place that we initially set up near the entrance, like further west along the south walkway. They didn't want our little TV tray and petition to cause a bottleneck, even though we were in the grass. Their concern is people would stop on the pathway to talk or sign, and then it would, block traffic coming in and out. It's like, hey, that's a valid concern, yeah. And so I told them if that happens, if it starts becoming a problem, then we'll relocate. We'll find a place where that doesn't happen. But it didn't happen, all day long. So we did what we said we were gonna do. But one of them did say, I think you're out here to, I think you want a confrontation. I'm like, no, actually, I will talk with any human being that wants to talk with me. Whether they say they work for, this company or this department of a whatever level of government, and talk to them equally. Talk to them like an equal human. And so I'm willing to talk with you guys, but it's not like my intention is to find city workers and talk to them. Like, no, you guys approached me. I was setting up for a peaceful encounters with people to encourage them to stand up for their rights. It's like, so you guys actually brought the confrontation, and that seems to be the recurring theme here. I'm not seeking out confrontations with anybody. Like, this is a peaceful demonstration. All of our interactions have been peaceful. It's the people that are opposing what we're doing, and what we're doing is standing up for our rights, for the people's rights, standing up against this legislation, not against a person, not against the council, not against the mayor, but against this legislation that has passed, Ordinance 6626, that violates the rights of the people. So we're going to overturn it, right? And I said that in a council meeting, like, hey, I consider you all equal human beings, friends, family. I love you. Like, I'm not against you. You have declared a war on the Constitution, and I swore an oath to defend it. So I'm going to defend it peacefully. Like, nothing against you, but your actions violate people's rights. So it's just interesting because in that conversation with the Parks and Rec guy, I was like, so have you guys discussed if I don't go in the little cone of silence that you set up, that you're gonna call the cops? And they're like, yeah, we've discussed that. I'm like, okay. So now you realize that's an escalation of confrontation, right? Like, we're talking about this. I heard your guys' concerns, and I said, yeah, if that actually that concern becomes a reality, then we'll address it, right? But just like with the first encounter with the Parks and Rec guy, Doug, with the signs and the planters here in the courtyard, he said his reason was he was concerned that the signs were doing damage to the plants or the planters. I was like, okay, well, once we got him to inspect that no damage was occurring, it's like, well, you've invalidated your reason, right? So it's no longer a reasonable request, it's just a request. And as an equal human being, I'm just going to respectfully not acquiesce. And so, similar thing happened, yesterday. They escalated. Actually, it was the mayor and the city attorney who called the cops. So that's interesting. Like, I don't understand, like, why they are seeking confrontation when we're just peacefully exercising our rights and encouraging others in the city to do the same. So, life and liberty. And I'll finish this up real quick. So life, and I'll have a link hopefully posted in this. There's a fun TED Talk by a man from India. He's a physicist. I think he's a quantum physicist. It's like Lakhani is his last name. And brilliant individual. And his TED Talk basically is on, I think it's Spiritual Humanism is the title. And in there, towards the end of his talk, he defines life. And he's like, this is a definition that you may not have heard, but life, we can see that something is alive, not for compliance with physical surroundings, with the physical situation, but in defiance of it, right? Because if you just comply with everything, then you'll let the wind push you over. You're not going to stand up against the wind, right? You're not going to resist hunger, right? You're just going to die of starvation, right? It's actually in defiance of the physical reality around us that defines life. Struggles to survive is basically what he's talking about. So this idea that compliance is a virtue, well, compliance, there is a middle ground in there between compliance and defiance, where we have to find a harmonious way to defy the physical surroundings, right? So, for instance, if you're hungry and there's a strawberry bush, or we'll use blackberry bushes because there's blackberry bushes all over town. There's a blackberry bush. You can, pick some blackberries off the bush, or you can rip the bush out, of the ground and take it home. Right? So both would be a little bit of defiance because you're taking something from nature. But just picking the berries and leaving the bush intact would be the middle ground of compliance and defiance, and where life, that's a harmonious interaction with life, a peaceful interaction. So we need to find that middle ground. And when somebody orders you to do something that's unlawful, that's a violation of your rights, that actually it's not based on any kind of concern for safety or anything else, it's simply something that is made up, then yeah, you're absolutely, like, to be alive would be to defy that. To comply with it, to just roll over, is to be asleep, right? To be dead. And so that's life. Liberty kind of plays into that as well. There's a fun quote. It says that freedom is the dispersion of power, right? But despotism is the concentration of it. So freedom is the spread of power. Despotism, or tyranny, is the concentration of power. And so yeah, liberty, freedom. When you put limits on it, when you try to block it, when you try to contain it or box it in, it's no longer liberty, right? It's no longer freedom. It's control. And the nature of government, like the word govern, is to control. And so the ment is as a system of control. So by nature, government is always going to seek out more control for itself, which is a concentration of power, right? That's just the nature of reality here. So we can learn that middle ground between compliance and defiance when interacting with governmental officials, right? Find like we did with the Parks and Rec guys. Like, yeah, if this becomes a situation where it blocks the path and it becomes a safety concern, then we'll move. That would be compliance. That's that middle ground of compliance. Until then, we won't move, because there is yet to be present that issue of endangering or causing a problem with life. So we're going to exercise liberty and life and enjoy this activity and this event that you guys are putting on. So hopefully everybody can enjoy life and liberty and learn to defy peacefully and harmoniously, so you can continue to grow and develop as an individual, and then as a collective, as a community. Alright, peace and love to you guys, and have a wonderful day, and Deo Presto Liber.